While Camilla has been a part of the royal family for many years, she is not considered to be a step-grandmother to Prince William and Kate Middleton's 3 children. Author Angela Levin wrote in the book Camilla, From Outcast to Queen Consort.
It was supposed to be a celebration, a customary royal honor, a tradition carried on by a new generation. But beneath the gleaming facade of Buckingham Palace, the announcement provoked something far more sinister, a seismic emotional collapse that exposed the cracks in Britain's most guarded family. Prince George, the heir to the monarchy and the cherished firstborn of Prince William and Princess Kate, had recently received the historic ceremonial title reserved for future kings, indicating his growing maturity and preparedness for the crown. Royal watchers applauded. The press labeled it inevitable. But for one woman within the palace, it was not a symbol of continuity. It was a blow in the face. Queen Camilla, wife to King Charles and grandmother to Freddie Parker BS and her other grandchildren from her first marriage, reportedly burst into tears after learning that the title she had long anticipated would be extended to her bloodline had instead been handed to Prince George without warning. She was devastated, a palace official murmured. Not because she didn't believe George deserved it, but because it confirmed what she feared all along: her family will never truly be royal. Camilla's motivations were more than just status. It was about legacy, regarding being seen, about watching her genealogy be gently pushed aside by a solid Chile monarchy that maintained a clear distinction between royal and step-royal. What made things worse, according to insiders, Camilla learned the same way the rest of the public did, through the palace's official press statement. No private conversation. There is no courtesy warning. She had no chance to prepare herself or her family, only cold ink on official stationery. To the outer world, it appeared harmless. A charming title for a charming boy. But inside the royal walls, the move broke the appearance of togetherness between the Windsor and the Parker BS, a schism that many had suspected but few had dared to express. This wasn't simply a title. It was a message. Camilla received a clear message: your family will never sit at the true royal table. In the days that followed, murmurs echoed through the palace halls. Staff described a queen consort who appeared shaken. Some claimed she challenged Charles. Others believed she declined to attend a scheduled gathering. Behind the scenes, tensions reportedly escalated between William and his father, leaving Camilla more isolated than ever. This is the tale behind the title. More than that, it's the narrative of a family torn apart once more by bloodlines, power, and tragic realities. Camilla Rosemary Shand, now Queen Camilla, has spent decades navigating the delicate balance of royal inclusion. From mistress to marriage, from scandal to respectability, her path into the heart of the monarchy has been anything but smooth. And while her position beside King Charles is now secure, her secret ambition did not end with obtaining the crown. Behind closed doors, individuals close to the Queen claim she has spent years planning a far more personal mission: to see her bloodline intertwined into the fabric of the kingdom. Camilla's 2 children from her marriage to Andrew Parker BS, Tom and Laura, have mostly remained out of the royal spotlight. Unlike Prince William and Prince Harry, they do not have titles. The firm considers their children, Camilla's loving grandchildren, civilians. However, Camilla believes they are more than that. They become part of her legacy. In recent years, she has reportedly worked to modify how the institution perceives them. Insiders think Camilla's campaign began subtly. Strategic introductions to royal events. Family photographs were carefully prepared. Her grandson Freddie Parker BS, charming, well-mannered, and growing up within arm's reach of Windsor, became more visible at family events, frequently seated next to key royal figures. Many in Camilla's inner circle believed she was placing him as the acceptable face of her family. She was careful, said one former courtier. She never demanded titles. She merely presented her family as deserving of royal respect. The subtext was always there. They could also serve the monarchy. Camilla was renowned for bragging about Freddie's accomplishments at private dinners and charity events. She made certain that images of her grandchildren appeared in palace newsletters and Christmas greetings, and she quietly suggested, particularly when King Charles ascended the throne, that her family deserved a formal place in the new era of the monarchy. According to one retired palace aide, there was even talk, completely behind closed doors, about pressing for a minor hereditary title to be bestowed upon Freddie in the future years, something ceremonial, symbolic, a baron possibly. Not enough to cause outcry, but enough to justify Parker BS' inclusion in the royal directory. It wasn't greed, the advisor explained. It was about belonging. Camilla knew she'd always be regarded as the outsider queen. Elevating her grandchildren was her way of changing that, of saying we are part of this too. However, the quiet quest for recognition was met with quiet resistance. Senior advisors to Prince William were reportedly skeptical. They saw the monarchy as a blood institution founded on lineage, tradition, and the legitimacy of descent. Camilla had become queen consort, but her children and their children were by definition not royal. They saw a risk in blurring the borders between monarchy and privilege. The anxiety simmered behind the royal doors. Camilla was pleasant but insistent. She utilized her rising influence to advocate for minor changes, such as more inclusion of her family at events, improved seating arrangements, and subtle favors. Charles, who was frequently stuck between love and legacy, indulged some of her hopes. However, Charles no longer served as the actual custodian of the future royal image. It was William. According to reports, William had little interest in enlarging the royal family to include step-relatives, no matter how close they were to the king and queen. William saw the future clearly, an insider explained, a slimmer monarchy. A tighter circle. There is no room for confusion or court favoritism, and that didn't include Parker BS' grandchildren. This muted refusal contrasted sharply with Camilla's warm approach. For years she had played the long game hoping that status and sentiment would finally create room for her bloodline. But when the title she had hoped Freddie would get was bestowed upon Prince George without discussion, warning, or explanation, it was more than just a disappointment. It was a definite no. And for Camilla, who had spent her life clawing her way from controversy to crown, it felt like history repeating itself, a reminder that in the eyes of the monarchy, she would always be a visitor, and her grandchildren just visitors. To the public, William and Kate have long represented the monarchy's future, a modern, personable royal couple who balance tradition and accessibility. Behind palace doors, however, many close to them claim that their vision for the kingdom is far more strategic and selective than many realize. From the start of their senior royal positions, the Prince and Princess of Wales have followed one guiding principle: protect the core royal bloodline. Not because of pride or snobbery, but because of a deliberate wish to shield the institution from delusion, misunderstanding, and debate. They are focused, an insider said. They understand that the monarchy will only survive if the public perceives it as sacred, clean, and direct. Blood is important. Heritage is important. Titles must reflect that. And that's when the unspoken schism with Queen Camilla gradually began to grow. While Camilla embraced a blended view of the monarchy, which featured her Parker B's grandchildren, her civilian children, and the gradual integration of families, William and Kate remained firmly steeped in tradition. Their viewpoint was straightforward, albeit somewhat cold. Only those with direct Windsor ancestry should hold royal titles. It was not personal. It was structural. William, the future king, is determined to reduce the monarchy by reducing costs, public scrutiny, and luxury. His idea is said to follow the Scandinavian model, with fewer working royals, clearer tasks, and no ceremonial honors awarded based on personal favoritism or step-family links. According to sources close to Kensington Palace, Camilla's rising suggestions, such as titles or enhanced prominence for her grandkids, were met with opposition and eventually silence. William didn't need to argue, a former aide explained. He simply didn't answer. He let the stillness speak for itself. Kate is also thought to be uncomfortable with the prospect of non-royal offspring obtaining formal honors. Not because she loathed Camilla's family, but because she saw the ramifications. In an era when the monarchy is under scrutiny, any action that could be interpreted as nepotism or favoritism would be a public relations disaster. In many respects, this moment, when Prince George was given a long-awaited ceremonial title, marked the end of the road. A public announcement of the royals' future direction. And it belongs to the Windsor, the Mountbatten Windsors, not the Parker Bowles. According to several staff members, William knew how Camilla would react to the announcement. However, he made no effort to cushion the blow. Others say that he felt it was better to be forthright now rather than luring her in with false optimism. William isn't cruel, a source said, but he isn't sentimental either, especially when it comes to the crown. He understands what he's protecting. While the public celebrated Prince George's transition to a more official role, Camilla was rumored to be in tears within the royal walls. Because for her, it wasn't just about Prince George receiving the title. It was about her grandchild not understanding it. And William had made his views very clear. Blood is overblended. Legacy trumps sentiments. The monarchy's future would not be shared. In a kingdom based on hierarchy and heritage, King Charles III finds himself in an unexpected situation, stuck between the woman he loves and the son who will eventually succeed him. After years of royal turmoil, Charles is seen by the globe as a stabilizing force. However, within palace walls, the choice to give Prince George a coveted ceremonial title over Camilla's grandchild has revealed a deeper truth. Charles may wear the crown, but William now controls the future. And that future does not involve the Parkerby's family. According to senior insiders, Camilla had long relied on Charles's help in her stealthy campaign to promote her family. She would convey her wishes privately rather than publicly or with demands. A barony for Freddie perhaps, a formal recognition of her grandchildren's close ties to the royal family. Charles, ever the diplomat, would nod and offer comforting promises. "We'll find the right moment," he reportedly told her several times. But when the time came to select the new ceremonial honor, Charles found himself at a crossroads: give in to Camilla's request and risk insulting William, or support his heir and destroy his wife. In the end, the king picked the crown, as many believe he always has. According to sources close to the issue, Charles hesitated. He even suggested that a lower title be created for Freddie Parkerby's as a compromise. But William remained unimpressed. He did not consider granting titles for step-grandchildren to be a compromise. It was a contaminant, a steep path towards a distorted royal image that may haunt the future generation. And Charles, who had fought for the stability of a modern monarchy throughout his reign, eventually gave in. He didn't want to fight, a palace insider confirmed. But he also understood that William's vision had to be respected. If Charles defied him, he would start a battle inside the monarchy. The decision shattered something deep. Those close to the king and queen said Camilla saw it as a personal betrayal, not from William, but from Charles himself. For a lady who had supported him through decades of scrutiny, media attacks, and family rejection, this felt like a dagger from her own husband. She asked, "Did you even try?" one employee allegedly overheard. Charles was thought to be sorry, but not apologetic. He believed he had made the correct decision for the institution, the crown, and history. However, the emotional toll was evident. Camilla reportedly cancelled many commitments in the days after the revelation. Staff noted a difference in her demeanor: quiet, inattentive, and extremely frigid. And Charles unusually did not press her because he knew he'd made his decision. For the first time since their marriage, Camilla no longer felt safe with the guy who had previously challenged the world to be with her. The king is no stranger to difficult decisions. However, sources believe this one will create a lasting impression because the cost was not political but human. And no royal decree can mend a heart that feels expendable. For Camilla, the crown had always represented the fact that her past did not define her. But now that her grandson has passed away and her legacy has been rejected, she is left to wonder, did she ever really belong? It was intended to be a modest ceremony, a solemn royal occasion to bestow a ceremonial title on young Prince George, one that has been passed down through generations and represents royal maturity and future leadership. For the audience, it was a delightful insight into the future king's destiny. In the face of mounting pressure, the palace scores a media victory. However, Camilla, the queen consort of the United Kingdom, was devastated by the event. According to sources close to the occasion, Camilla was not given advance notice. Despite her close proximity to the throne, as well as her decades of dedication and secrecy, she learned via the palace's official news release, just like the rest of the public. She didn't even get a heads up. One insider claimed she saw the name Prince George in that announcement, and she froze. To outsiders, it appeared to be a typical evolution. But for Camilla, it reaffirmed what had been quietly accumulating for months. Her family will always be second class, that her grandkids would never be allowed near the heart of the royal machine. Camilla allegedly lost control of the austere image she had painstakingly cultivated over the years that night behind closed doors at Clarence's house. She sobbed, not in public, nor in front of cameras or assistants. However, she is alone in her private sitting area with only a few loyal staff members nearby. According to an eyewitness, she held the printed notification and said, "They have obliterated us. After all, they obliterated us." It wasn't all sadness. It was an outrage, betrayal, a deep piercing anguish that no crown or title could conceal. Camilla had spent decades walking a tightrope, gaining respect, remaining silent, and serving a family that had previously rejected her. She overcame public hate, media venom, and private shame to obtain her current position. But that was all for her. Not her kids. Not her grandchildren. And now a line had been established, with Prince George standing on one side, heir, favored, celebrated, and Freddie Parker Bowles, invisible, on the other. According to reports, the message sent by the title was what wounded the most. Queen Camilla had no say, that her ideas, wishes, and hopes for her family were irrelevant. One courtier described the palace's mood that evening as tense and surreal. Everybody felt it. You could hear it in the silence. The Queen had been shut out. And the Queen was in grief. King Charles reportedly attempted to calm her. He provided mild explanations, likely rehearsed in advance, about traditions, public expectations, and royal strategy. Camilla, overcome with emotion, reportedly told him, "You let them humiliate me." Camilla had a garden party set for the next morning. She cancelled. What's the official reason? Health reasons. But those in the royal circle understood the truth. The Queen was not ill. She was shattered. While no one would speak about it publicly, the workers witnessed the consequences. Camilla is emotionally distant. A concerned Charles. In addition, the Queen's relationship with the Prince and Princess of Wales is deteriorating because Camilla saw this as more than just a matter of routine. It was personal. She had ascended every rung of the royal ladder and weathered every wound, whisper, and insult. She donned the crown. But in a quiet moment, she realized something devastating. The crown could never protect her loved ones, and the monarchy would never genuinely accept them. As the dust settled from the emotional maelstrom that surrounded Queen Camilla, royal insiders began to speculate on what the title snob really meant, not just for her but for the monarchy's future. Because while the public concentrated on Camilla's tears and Prince George's title, something far more fundamental was taking place beyond the royal gates, a generational divide. On one side lay the future, the sharper and streamlined House of Windsor. Prince William, Catherine, and their children were being meticulously sculpted into a more cohesive, modern royal core. One that embodied tradition, clarity, and public relatability. On the other side stood the Parker Bowles family, dubbed the blended branch today. Loyal, present, yet unofficial. Accepted in pictures but not in protocol. Camilla's side of the tree was not clipped. Rather, it was disregarded. And such exclusion has the seeds of a larger crisis. You're seeing two royal visions begin to diverge, stated one royal historian. Camilla aimed to create a legacy that encompassed her family. William is creating one that eliminates everything but the bloodline. And both believe they're correct. What are the consequences? A monarchy that may soon be divided, not by scandal or abdication, but by a gradual, agonizing fragmentation of family identity. Freddie Parker Bowles and his relatives are no longer children. They are growing up in regal settings but without royal titles. They go through palace corridors but are not included in royal registrations. Even if they celebrate holidays with George, Charlotte, and Louis, the message is clear: the planet is not yours. What does this signify for the future generation? It refers to a monarchy that is increasingly defined by hierarchy, not only power, but also belonging. Prince George is already taking on duties that foreshadow his future honors, military patronages, and even informal introductions to the diplomatic realm. He is being raised not only as a grandson but as a sovereign. Meanwhile, Camilla's grandchildren are still in the public's peripheral view. No honors. There are no mentions. There was not even a whiff of ceremonial participation. They are part of the Queen's world but not the monarchy's future. Some argue that this separation is necessary, that the monarchy must focus, trim down, and eliminate excesses in order to survive in the modern world. Others caution that this segmentation, this tacit exile of step relatives, may develop an undertone of animosity that deepens over time. What happens, one source wondered, when Freddie sees stories about George's promotion again, despite the fact that he was once considered for the same position? They're not children forever, a former royal press officer said. And feelings don't disappear just because the palace chooses silence. For the time being, William's method appears to be working. The people admire his children. The image of a pure, steadfast royal bloodline is powerful. However, palace insiders believe that the emotional toll of that clarity, particularly on those left behind, may one day manifest in ways no one can predict. Camilla feels the agony immediately. It could take longer for her grandchildren. In any case, a line has been drawn, one that goes beyond titles and honors to touch hearts and generations. The monarchy's future will be entirely Windsor-centric. But what is the cost of that purity? A family is forever split. For Queen Camilla, the crown was never about personal glory but about redemption. After years of being ridiculed by the public, whispered about in corridors, and blamed for one of the most notorious love triangles in royal history, she fought tooth and nail for a place at the heart of the monarchy. And she received it. But she could never have predicted that the same system she had fought her way into would silently close the door on her family. Camilla had hoped that her grandchildren would reap the benefits of her sacrifice. That by wearing the crown with grace and loyalty despite decades of conflict and transformation, she may pave the path for her dynasty to gain at least symbolic respect inside royal circles. Not as equals with the Windsor, never, but as recognized members of a new, modernized royal court. Rather, she was met with silence, then rejection. The ceremonial title conferred to Prince George was more than simply a formality. It was a declaration, one that emphasized the monarchy's steadfast commitment to lineage over ties. And in doing so, it dashed Camilla's years of silent optimism behind palace walls. Her home is now safe, but it is isolated. She will stand beside King Charles during ceremonial events, smile for photographs, and wave from balconies. But she does so knowing that her legacy ends with her. That the name Parker Bowles will never be recorded in royal history, that her grandchild will never bow in ceremony, be announced with grandeur, or carry the weight and honor of a title, even one she would willingly share. That pain is one she must bear alone. Because in this new royal era, Camilla may wear the crown, but Kate and William shape the throne. And their monarchy does not allow for blended lines or sentimental exceptions. Camilla envisioned a legacy. Instead, she is left with the terrible truth. She may be queen, but her family was never royal, according to historical records.